I'm really excited to announce the beta release of Snappy, your video genius. Snappy is more than an advancement on search. It's a helpful assistant that you can ask questions about your recording library. So some of you may have already been updated and you maybe have already been playing around with Snappy or seen the feature within your system. But I'm here to introduce him to you a little bit more. So Snappy is able to search and summarize your recordings for you. Snappy uses closed captions and transcription to analyze your recordings and to build a knowledge base of topics, shows, people, and other metadata. So that allows Snappy to not just find what you search for, but to also surface relevant content that you may be interested in. And Snappy can also help identify patterns and can compare how things were covered on different shows or networks. So let's talk about what else Snappy can do. Snappy can answer questions related to specific shows, channels, personalities, organizations, or dates, even things like brands. Some of that Snappy is also able to answer. Snappy can find coverage on particular topics within your library. Snappy can summarize recent content and also provide citations. So Snappy is able to provide you with up to 10 direct source links to recordings within your library. It's usually at least one source, but typically I find it to be between 3 and 10 sources are what Snappy is able to give you. So when you're working with Snappy, some questions that you might find and get some good results from would be something like what happened on late night TV last night, or compare the coverage of President Trump on CNN versus Fox News. Snappy is also able to surface funny moments or highlights from events, such as the Oscars. Snappy can tell you about guests on a particular show. So, The View, Good Morning America, talk shows. Snappy can tell you about the guests that appeared on those shows. Can also tell you about major moments that happened during the week. And also tell you about specific things like who was the winner of Jeopardy or who won the Oscar for Best Actor or things like that. All right. So let's go on to the next thing. And now I'm going to actually give you guys a live demo. And like Brennan just mentioned, if you would like to log into that demo server and be asking Snappy questions, right here, right now, feel free to go in there and start playing around. But I am going to share my screen so that you can see me trying Snappy live. So when you log into SnapStream on your home screen, there's a couple different ways that you can access Snappy. You can either do it from the search bar here or from this little button down below. So I'm just going to click right here, and this will give us the full screen view of Snappy. If you would like Snappy to be small so that you can also be looking at other content in your SnapStream, just hit the minimize button and Snappy will shrink down again. So I'm going to make it big though so everybody can see well. So you can type in your own question here, or we also have some sample questions which you can click on. So I'm just going to try clicking one of these questions and we'll see how Snappy responds. It typically takes Snappy about 20 seconds to generate a response, so we'll give it a little bit of time to pull up some of those. And while we're waiting, this would also be a good time for you to go in and ask your own questions if you would like to. All right, so Snappy's provided us with an answer about top news stories, telling us about different topics that were covered. Let's see, it looks like sports, military operations, weather, advertising, but I want to dive in deeper and get some more information on sports. So let me see. Tell me more about the latest NBA stories. Let's see what Snappy can do with that. I don't know very much about sports myself, so if I say something incorrect about basketball, hopefully you guys can have a good laugh or correct me in the chat. All right, let's see. We got some coverage on LeBron James, some coverage on talking about Sports Center. It's looking for sources right now. This time it only gave us one source, but I see it's talking about LeBron James, and I do actually know that there was a highlight with LeBron James, I think, last night. So let me ask more about that. Let's see. Tell me more about the coverage of LeBron James. All right, and while that's loading, I'll also show you some of the different things with the sources. So if you would like to click and go to see the source recording, you just click this link and this would take you to that recording page within your library. You can also hover over here and read the piece of transcript. You can click this to view the transcript, and if we had multiple sources, you could click these two buttons to scroll between the sources. All
Hey,
right,
Katie, we
and
have one quick question, which
oh,
is
sure.
just if you don't have a lot of recordings in your library, what can Snappy still do, or what is Snappy capable of?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. And it's something that's actually relevant because right now, if you guys have the Snappy feature, you were only upgraded on Tuesday night. So Snappy only has knowledge of recordings that happened since Tuesday night. So that might be, for some people, that might be a lot of content already, but for some of you, that might not be very much at all. So Snappy will be able to answer questions about what you have in your library. If you don't have a lot in your library, right now, Snappy is not going to be able to do that much for you. There's a lot that we have planned for future features that will enable Snappy to do more things. But yeah, it usually at least having, a couple of recordings for Snappy to work with, will provide optimal results. If you only have like maybe one recording or two, I'm not sure how much Snappy could do, but you could still ask questions and see what insight Snappy is able to pull from that.
Yeah, it's worth noting that, Snappy will certainly be able to give you information about whatever's in their library, even if it's not very much. But the real sort of strength of this assistant is being able to, take a large amount of content and distill it into the moments that really matter to you. It also just, kind of depends on what you use SnapStream for.
Exactly. Thanks, Daniel, for adding more info. And yeah, Brendan, if there are any other questions, I can't see the chat right now on my screen, so just let me know if there's like
Yep, I
something that
got
comes
you.
up. Cool, thanks. All right. Let's see. Oh, okay. Here, I got to pull the moment that I was looking for that I wanted to show you guys. So this is talking about the Lakers versus the Pacers game. And you can see it mentions that LeBron James hit a buzzer beater, which even I know that that's a really good thing to do. So you can see we've got multiple sources here. And then I'm going to click on source one. So if I'm not sure where source one is or what it's referring to, I just click here and it will highlight and show me that this is where that information is. If I want to see where this line was talked about, I just click this too, and then it would highlight and show me that this is the source recording that that piece of text came from. So let me go back to source one though, because I think that's where the exciting stuff is. So let's go here, and I'm just going to actually click this, and this will take me right to that moment. So I know that you guys can't hear, but here it is talking about, the buzzer beater that LeBron James just achieved to win the game. So going back to making Snappy large again. Let's see. So I've got my content, I've asked my questions. Now I'm going to actually show you guys something else that Snappy can do, which is help you create content. So I'm posting a clip to X of LeBron's last minute tip in. Write me a catchy tweet. All right. So imagine I've already got my clip. And now I want to have my tweet. So we're going to see what Snappy does with that. All right, Snappy's got a pretty snappy tweet that has been written right here. So you can see it uses hashtags. I actually went and checked and made sure that these hashtags are legitimate hashtags, and they are. So you could just, if you wanted to, copy this straight into your, X post and post it. I'll show you also, we have this more actions menu right here. And from here, you can copy the entire message from Snappy. So this wouldn't just be the tweet. This would copy all of this text right here. So you can copy that and, paste it. I'll just paste it here so you guys can see that, it does paste it correctly. So you can paste that there. One other thing to know also is there's this feedback button here. And we would love if you guys, share feedback with us. If you get a response that is, say it's inaccurate or it's unhelpful or really any reason, even if you get one that's like really great, you're like, wow, I love this response from Snappy. We'd love to hear it. This feedback goes directly to a dashboard where we can track and, make sure that Snappy is providing good results. If Snappy's not providing good results, we'd love to hear that so that then we can go and, try and fix that for you guys. So please let us know and submit your feedback if you'd like. And hopefully some of you have had some fun trying Snappy yourselves on the demo system. That's all the features of Snappy that I was going to show you today. Are there any questions right now in the chat, Brennan? Or are we good to wait until the end of the webinar?
We have one question about AI documentation that speaks to AI and just what about the LLMs behind the scene and what's involved.
I see. And I can't see that full question, but that's something that we have added and updated our privacy policy and added our AI policy to that page as well. And from there, you can read a little bit about how SnapStream, how the AI is working behind the scenes and generating this content. I'm not sure if this is part of the question, but I'll just address it that SnapStream is not using your data to train any models, not using it to enhance any models. Your data is, it's safe and it's not being used for any kind of training purposes. If you'd like to read more about the behind the scenes, you can go to the snapstream.com/privacy. And I
Yeah,
believe
Daniel just
that's,
linked it
oh,
in the
thank you.
chat.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll link it again. I'm not sure everyone can see that. I'll link it again, and it's at the bottom half of that page.
cool.
Oh yeah, my bad. I sent that message to hosts and panelists. But yeah, Brendan, if you want to copy that to everybody.
Nice.
We have
All right.
another question, actually. Let's see. Zach asked, is Snappy still useful if your content does not use transcriptions? If so, can you demonstrate how?
Snappy is capable of using the closed caption data or the transcription data. At the moment, Snappy is only capable of using that and is not able to do any kind of analysis of video content. This is something that we're very interested in enabling Snappy and being able to do that. And in fact, I think that's on my next slide. So let me go back into my slides for a moment.
Perfect
And
transition.
yes, perfect transition. Thanks, Zach, for the question. Because yes, right now it only relies on transcription or closed caption data and can't answer questions based solely on visual information. But that is like that's on our roadmap, and basically our top priority of our next thing to teach Snappy about is being able to recognize that video content because that would enable things like facial recognition or logo recognition or lower third detection and things like that. So that's why we're very interested in that. And glad to hear that you also are as well. Snappy can also only answer questions about recordings available within your SnapStream library, and it doesn't have access to guide data. So if there is, something in your SnapStream guide, like say it's something in the future that hasn't happened yet, Snappy doesn't have a way of knowing, anything about that content. It has to be either a live recording that's going on right now, or a past recording that's in your library. And again, mentioning this, Snappy only has the knowledge of recordings which took place after your upgrade this week. So, for example, if on Wednesday you asked Snappy what happened on TV yesterday, it wouldn't have been able to give you a very good answer because it didn't know what happened on TV yesterday. If you ask it that same question today, it will probably be able to give you a better answer because now it has a knowledge of what happened yesterday, which was Wednesday. But yeah, and as we go on, in this beta, which is, going to run for 12 weeks, Snappy is going to build a larger and larger, knowledge base of the content and will be able to provide better and better answers to your questions. Another thing to answer is that Snappy can't create clips for you, but it can provide you with links to important moments so that you can create your own. Sort of like when I asked it about the Lakers Pacers game, and it gave me that link to the moment when LeBron James was making his grand finale. It provided me with that link, but it wasn't able to provide me with a clip. Um,
Related to that, actually,
oh, go ahead.
Katie, David had a PhD level question since he is a PhD SnapStream holder. Um,
Oh
is,
no.
is Snappy aware of a user's folder permissions so it doesn't offer links to content the user can't access? As in, like, let's say another team has a private folder. I'm on the editorial team, that's the PR team. Will Snappy link me to the PR team's folder, for example?
That's a very good question, David. And that's one where, at the moment, Snappy does not have knowledge of that. So Snappy could, in theory, provide a user with a link to content that they don't have, access permission to that recording. They wouldn't actually be able to view the recording, though. They would just have that link, try to click it, and would get an access denied message. But they wouldn't be able to actually view the recording itself.
In its clips, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I Snappy can't access clips that other team members made in the same way of that recording you just described, right, Katie?
Snappy has no access to any clip that any person has created. No clips. Snappy doesn't have knowledge of clips. It only has knowledge of recordings. So if it was a folder of clips, there would be no worries because Snappy has no access to clips. It only has access to recordings.
Got it.
Is that the question you were asking, Brennan?
Yeah, yeah. And more are rolling in here.
Great.
Um, okay, we have request. We'll do some requests for stuff in a moment. You can move on, Katie.
Okay, cool. And yeah, one, very important bullet point is here at the bottom, which is that if you wish Snappy could do some of these things that are mentioned here, facial recognition, being able to access guide data, being able to create clips for you. If you would like Snappy to be able to do that, like let us know. That will directly affect like our roadmap and our priority level. So we'd love to hear, if you have feature requests for Snappy. All right, that was all that I have for the Snappy feature. Shall we move on to Daniel's slides?
David just had a quick follow up
Oh,
asking
sure.
if certain folders can be blacklisted from Snappy.
At the moment, no, David. This is something that we are working on, though, as far as teaching Snappy to recognize user permissions like that. If you have like if you have concerns about that, you can definitely, turn off Snappy if it's something that's like, a big enough concern for you or your team. You're able to turn it off if you would like to until we get some of those permissions in place, if that would make you more comfortable. But the permissions thing is a priority for us. It's just not something that made it into this first beta release of Snappy.
Yeah, and David, speaking to your concerns specifically, happy to talk with you, offline. Obviously, some of our customers have more complex deployments than others, and may have different sort of levels of concern about this sort of thing. But we'd love to talk about everybody's specific case with them.
And Craig, you're welcome to try out your Snappy message request in the demo invite that you got in that server right now. But for now, we're going to move on with the presentation with Daniel.
Yeah, hopefully we should have some time for more playing around with different request queries at the end here, because I don't have much to talk about actually. The
Alrighty, let me go to the next slide. There we
Yeah,
go.
so just a couple other things that are part of this release that we want to let you know about. We added, this is a very small thing, but we added a new feature for how dates are formatted in the names of files created by SnapStream. This is the option highlighted there as compact digits with no delimiter. It's just year, month, day, 2-digit year. And that's available in the miscellaneous settings page. if you need help with figuring that out, or if you want to ask more about what these settings do, feel free to drop us an email at customer success@snapstream.com or support@snapstream.com. And a few other sort of odds and ends that are part of this release. We updated our Slack app. What are called classic apps in Slack were deprecated recently. This is something that we patched in early March for our customers that we know use Slack. But if you have, if we happen to overlook you and you've noticed that Slack isn't doing what it's supposed to do in SnapStream, then this is the solution. So if you have any questions about that, let us know. We made some changes to the framework that runs our transcript viewer and moments list in our player interface. This resolves a port dependency that was, causing some issues for some customers. If this is something that affects you, you probably already know, and this is solved. Um, and then I just want to, call back to our last webinar about our Blue Sky integration feature, which, if you haven't tried it yet, please do. We'd love to hear your feedback about, adding that new social media destination. And then also, our initial release was experiencing an issue where the authentication was expiring every 7 days, and that's fixed now too. So if you've noticed that, please give it a try and make sure that it's working.
All
And I think
right.
that's going to be it for our webinar. We'd love to hear any additional questions that y'all have. While we wait, Katie, do you feel like maybe trying that Snappy query that Craig had mentioned?
Yes, I can't I'm not actually sure how to see it though. Sorry.
It was provide the latest highlights from the tariff trade war between the US, Canada, Mexico, Europe, and Japan.
Sorry, you went a little fast for me. Provide the latest highlights on the tariff trade war. Sorry, what was the last bit?
Between the US, Canada, Mexico, Europe, and Japan.
Okay, let's see.
This is a pretty specific question. I wonder how it's going to handle this.
Yeah, it should have a lot of content to work with, so let's see. We'll give it a go. Let me make it bigger so people can see better as well. All right, looking promising. Let's see. We definitely have sources.
I want to see if Snappy needs counseling after doing this search.
All right, let me actually read it to make sure this is looking good. I know this is accurate because I ran this search myself yesterday. It's a good question. We actually got quite a few sources this time. Let's see, we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sources here. All right. Yeah, let's see. Let me try and click on one of these. Let's see. We'll just click on number 6. This one, number 6 should be announcing the 25%, oops, 25% tariff on automobiles. So let's see. We'll go back to number 6. 6 should be here. Let's see. All right. Let's give that a try. Oh, I think I clicked on the wrong source. One sec. Let me try that again. All right. Oh, let's see. Number 7. Okay, let's try this one. This one is talking about May 3rd. We should be looking for May 3rd in here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that's right. See, tariffs on auto parts will begin no later than May 3rd. So I definitely got that accurate on that source. So good job, Snappy. Does anybody else have a question they want to try for Snappy? Or any other questions in the chat in general?
Something interesting, Katie, like I noticed in that video in on the screenshot, it says 25% tariff on April 3rd, but then in the text it says May 3rd.
Well, it says 25% duties on imported assembled vehicles starting April 3rd, and then tariffs on auto parts will begin no later than May 3rd. So it seems
Okay.
like
So
it's a
that result
staggered.
was about auto parts specifically. Okay. I
Yeah,
got you.
I see. Are there any other questions?
None at the moment.
All right.
All right.
Well, also, if you have any questions, if you start using Snappy on your system, and you have questions, definitely feel free to reach out to product@snapstream.com. Also, if you don't see Snappy on your system, it's possible that you maybe haven't been upgraded yet. And if you would like to see Snappy on your system, reach out and we can work with scheduling that upgrade for you guys.
Oh, we did actually have one other question come
Oh,
in.
sure.
Question is compare coverage of Mahmoud Khalil on MSNBC and Fox News.
Compare coverage of Mahmoud. And I'm sorry, is this the
You
correct
got it.
spelling?
But
Okay. On MSNBC versus Fox News. Oops, Fox News. Let me make this bigger for everybody.
And
That's a good
again,
question.
if 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 folks don't have Snappy on their current SnapStream system, the email you got from SnapStream about an hour ago will give you access to the demo server, which I think Katie's on right now, which works
Yes.
totally fine with Snappy. So, Dahlia, yeah, if you have any more questions, you're welcome to follow up there as well.
So, and looking at this result that we got here, so we definitely have a comparison of coverage with showing like the amount of coverage that we're getting, and also specifically which programs this story was covered on. I do see that this result didn't turn back sources. Now, you may see this as well. This is something that, this feature is in beta right now, and we're still working on improving it. Sometimes when it thinks that a question is broad, it won't return sources. So a way that you could probably get it to return sources here is asking a more specific question, like let's see, how tell me more about how this story was covered. Let's see. Asking more specific questions like that may, provide you with sources. It also may not. Like I said, Snappy is still in beta, and there's still a lot of work going on behind the scenes to make these sources turn up. That's something that we're working on improving is making it return sources even when it deems a question is very broad.
Dahlia actually had an interesting follow-up question.
Oh,
It
nice.
was what are the most used terms on each of those networks to describe his arrest and detention?
Okay, good question. And I think this one is also not going to turn up sources, so it's still disapproved of my question. What are the most used, so, and correct me if I'm saying the wrong thing. What are the most used terms? Is that right?
Yes.
Most used terms to describe. Can you read the last bit to me
To
again?
describe his arrest and detention.
Arrest and detention. And
Is
that's,
it gonna know who his refers to?
it should remember that that's who I asked about. But if you want, I'll just be extra careful and say, yeah, Mahmoud Khalil's. Okay. It should still remember that because it retains this chat history for 7 days, and it will be able to remember that information as long as you can still see those questions above.
And then while we wait, David also had another very useful question, which is, are we going to create a shorter sort of like um, you know, video on that very quickly shows how to use this feature that we can send out to our customers?
If you guys would like that, sure, we'll create that, if that would be helpful. We were already sort of planning on sending out like a kind of a one pager with like types of questions to ask and, types of questions that Snappy's not capable of answering yet. But yeah, if a video would help as well, we can send out those two things in conjunction with each other.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll definitely create a short video on how to use this.
And it looks like we should actually have Dahlia be doing this training because her follow-up question was much better than mine and actually got sources as well. So thanks for the question, Dahlia. And you can see it shows how he is being talked about and making sure this is actually the networks itself talking about it. Let's see. This is more talking about his specific his arrest. This is not specifically to the network. So I think maybe if I had put something in here about network instead, it might have returned specifics on like the networks. This is about how it's being talked about on the networks, but a lot of these, it doesn't tell you which specific network it's referring to. So as you can see, and you're probably aware of when you play with other AI tools, there's a certain like learning curve of learning how to get it to give you the best answers to your questions. And it's something that like I'm still learning and, you guys, I'm sure will, be learning as well. And we're excited to see like your questions, and, which ones it's good at answering.
Yeah, something that I think has been cool in like, playing with this feature and seeing other people play with it is that it's actually capable of handling very specific queries.
Yeah.
This isn't like just sort of better search where you're trying to do very broad, cast a very broad net. You can ask it very specific things. We've seen people ask it like, as you saw, Katie asked it to write a tweet and it was able to do that. We've seen people ask it to write jokes, and do things like even reformat text. And I think that what we're looking for here is really for this feature to sort of spark our customers' imagination and help them come up with questions to ask it that we haven't even thought of.
Yeah. Are there any other questions in the chat?
Well, seems like that might be it.
Yep.
All right. Well, I hope that you guys all learn something today and go and experiment with Snappy, because the more questions that people ask it, the more we'll learn what people want it to be able to know, and we can work on helping it provide better and better answers.